The human fleet had been patrolling the edge of the known galaxy for months. Stars shimmered in the darkness, distant and cold, yet there was something comforting in their steady glow. Commander Elena stared at the radar screens, her brow furrowed. A small, unusual ship had appeared on the sensors. Unlike the sleek military designs of known alien craft, this one was fragile-looking, almost delicate. It moved slowly, almost hesitantly, like it was not entirely sure of where it was going. "Identify it," she said, voice calm but firm. Her crew, trained for moments like this, scanned the readings. The ship's design did not match any known species. Its energy signature was faint but present.
"It's alien," said Lieutenant Chen, the tech officer. "But
it's not like any of the Empire's warships. It's small, almost like a shuttle. No weapons detected. No shields, either." Elena studied the ship. The Empire had always been a looming threat, sending ships to intimidate or attack. But this craft, it seemed harmless. "Prepare a welcome team," she ordered. "We're bringing them in. Let's see who's on board."
As the small shuttle docked with the human station, the crew felt a mix of curiosity and caution. The airlock hissed, and a figure stepped out.
She was small, barely reaching the waist of most humans, and her limbs seemed thinner than what was typical for her species. Her skin shimmered faintly under the station lights, like silver dust, and her large dark eyes looked around with wide, innocent curiosity.
"Who is she?" whispered one of the crew members. "Is she a child?" Elena stepped forward.
"Stay calm," she said. "We don't know her intentions." The girl looked at them and smiled. It was a gentle smile, the kind that made people relax without even realizing it. She did not speak, but her eyes seemed to convey warmth. "Does she understand us?" asked Chen. "She's intelligent," said Elena carefully. "But she might be different from what we expect." She approached the girl and offered her hand. The girl hesitated for a moment and then shook it. It was light, almost fragile, but the gesture itself carried a quiet confidence. The human team brought her into the medbay for a quick health scan. The readings were unusual. Her body did not match the standard anatomy of her species. Parts that were essential for her species' survival were underdeveloped, and some organs were weaker than normal. The med officer frowned. "Commander," she said, "she's different. By her species standards, she would be considered disabled." Elena nodded. "That must be why she's here. But we don't judge. Not like that." The girl, whose name they soon learned was Leora, stayed calm throughout the examination. She looked around, fascinated by the bright lights and screens, touching things gently, asking questions through a simple device that translated her soft alien sounds into human words. "What is this?" she asked, pointing to a holographic map of nearby systems. "It's a map of the galaxy," said Elena. "We explore, we learn, we protect." Leora tilted her head, as if absorbing the concept.
"Protect?" she asked.
"Yes," Elena said.
"Sometimes others are not as kind as we are. We make sure they don't harm us or others."
Leora nodded slowly. "I want to help."
The crew exchanged glances. No alien had ever asked to help humans willingly before. Most were wary, hostile, or indifferent. This small, fragile girl, sent as a joke by her emperor, had the courage to offer her help. Over the next few days, Leora began to learn about human life. She was clumsy at first. She dropped tools, misread instructions, and sometimes fell asleep unexpectedly. But every mistake was met with patience from the humans, not ridicule. "Try again," Elena would say gently. "Everyone learns at their own." Unlike her own species, which valued perfection and strength, humans valued perseverance, kindness, and creativity. Leora began to notice that her differences did not make her worthless here. They made her unique. One afternoon, Chen tried to show her how to use a drone for scouting. She tilted her head, watching the drone hover, and then made a small adjustment to its controls. The drone reacted immediately, performing a maneuver the humans had never tried before. Chen blinked in surprise. "How did you do that?" he asked. "I watched carefully," Leora said softly. "I noticed how it moved when you pressed the buttons differently." Elena smiled. "Sometimes, seeing things in a new way is the most powerful skill. You have it." Word of Leora's presence began to spread among the human crew. They admired her curiosity, her patience, and her willingness to try, even when things were difficult. She listened to stories of Earth, of humanity's history, of wars and inventions, of failures and triumphs. She laughed at jokes she understood, frowned at injustices, and slowly the humans began to see her as one of their own. Meanwhile, messages from the alien empire began to arrive. The Emperor had sent Leora deliberately, expecting humans to mock or discard her. She was, in his eyes, a failure, a useless child. The humans were not amused. They treated her with respect, and in return, she gave them loyalty, trust, and insight. One day, during a routine simulation, a small alien probe attacked the colony. The probe was not powerful, but it was fast and intelligent. The humans rushed to defend the base, weapons at the ready. Panic ran through the crew as the probe moved unpredictably, bypassing shields and dodging countermeasures. Leora stood quietly, watching. Then, she noticed something. The probe moved in patterns similar to the training simulations they had practiced that morning.
She shouted, "Stop! Don't follow it directly. Go around it and force it into the corner."
The humans hesitated but then acted on her instructions. Slowly, methodically, they trapped the probe without destroying it. The simulation ended, the probe deactivated, and the humans stared at Leora in astonishment. You saw that?" Elena asked. "I watched," Leora said simply.
I noticed the pattern, you humans!
You fight differently than my people. You think in ways my emperor cannot."
That night, the humans celebrated quietly in the mess hall. Leora sat among them, smiling, eating strange alien rations that she had learned to enjoy.
She laughed freely, a sound like wind through chimes. Elena looked at her and felt something she had not expected. Respect, yes, but also hope. This small girl, considered weak by her own kind, had shown them courage, insight, and heart. Humanity, in turn, showed her acceptance and trust. The stars outside the station twinkled, as if acknowledging the unspoken truth. Strength was not measured only in power or speed. It was measured in courage, creativity, and the willingness to stand with others, even when everyone else underestimated you. And so, Leora's first days on the human colony passed, not as a joke or a burden, but as a teacher and a student. She learned from humans, but humans learned from her. She showed them that even those considered weak by one standard could become heroes in another. Unknown to them, the alien emperor watched from afar. He had expected humiliation, embarrassment, and failure. Instead, he saw reports of Leora's influence on humans, of her calm intelligence and growing presence. The humans, his supposed inferiors, were embracing her, and in doing so, they were proving something he could not understand: the unpredictability of humanity, the power of empathy, and the strength in seeing potential where others see weakness. Leora lay on her cot that night, looking at the ceiling, thinking about Earth's stories she had been told. She felt something new. Belonging. She was different, yes, but here, she was valued. Here she had friends who trusted her, who laughed with her, and who would follow her advice when the time came. The galaxy was vast, dark, and full of unknown dangers. But in that moment, Leora felt something brighter than all the stars combined. She felt hope, not just for herself, but for the humans she had come to love, and for the chance to show the universe that even the weakest could shine in their own way. And so, the fragile alien girl sent as a joke began her journey with humanity, unaware that her first small victories would soon echo across the stars, challenging the arrogance of emperors and the expectations of a galaxy that had never truly understood her. Days passed on the human colony, and Leora settled into the rhythm of life. She moved slowly at first, careful not to break anything, careful not to overstep. Humans were patient, but she could sense their curiosity. They had never met anyone like her. Her body was frail, her limbs thin, her movements uncertain. But her mind was sharp, and her eyes always observed more than anyone realized. Sensors had detected a strange energy signature nearby, not a large ship, but a small, fast-moving vessel, approaching from the dark expanse. The humans tensed immediately, readying weapons and shields. The threat was unknown, and in space, the unknown was dangerous. Leora, sensing the anxiety around her, stepped forward. "Show me the map," she said. Her voice was quiet but firm, commanding attention without demanding it. Elena handed her the holographic display. The ship's path was erratic, zigzagging as if testing the colony's defenses. "They're probing," Leora said. "They want to see how you react." "Probing?" Chen asked.
"Like testing us. Yes, but they are predictable."
"Not because they are weak, because they repeat their patterns. Watch." For hours, Leora studied the vessel's movements. The humans took turns observing her, skeptical but intrigued. Slowly, she began giving instructions.
Don't fire at it directly. It wants that.
Move your sensors in a circle. Keep it trapped in the light path. Then it will slow down. Wait for it. Now. The humans hesitated, then followed her directions. The small ship slowed, caught in the carefully plotted perimeter Leora had created. With a coordinated effort, they immobilized it, without destroying it. Elena stared at Leora. "You saw that?" "Yes," Leora said simply. "I noticed the pattern. You humans, you respond differently than my people. You combine many ideas at once, and you trust each other."
"That makes you stronger than it seems."
The humans cheered quietly among themselves. Leora's insight had prevented unnecessary destruction and showed that even a small mind, working differently, could outthink an enemy. Word of Leora's cleverness spread quickly across the colony. The other humans began including her in more tasks: strategic planning, scientific experiments, even training exercises. She stumbled at first, dropping equipment or misjudging distances, but she never gave up. Every failure became a lesson. One day, while exploring the storage bays, Leora noticed something humans had missed. A container of emergency supplies was stacked unsafely, leaning precariously. She warned the team just in time. The stack fell, narrowly missing 2 workers.
"You have an eye for detail," Elena said. "That saved lives." Leora smiled.
"Sometimes the smallest things matter most. My people..."
They call it weakness, but I call it careful. Humans began to see that Leora's perceived flaws were actually strengths in disguise.
She moved slowly, but that allowed her to notice things others overlooked. She asked questions others would never think of. She thought differently, and humans respected that. Meanwhile, the alien emperor continued to watch. He had sent Leora as a joke, expecting humiliation, not admiration. His reports came back. She was not failing. She was excelling. Worse, she was teaching humans in ways he could not understand. The idea that a human colony could embrace what his species saw as weakness enraged him. One evening, a message arrived from a neighboring system. An alien research team had gone missing. Humans were cautious. They didn't know if it was a trap. But Leora's voice rose above the murmurs. "Let me help," she said.
We can find them, and we can do it without fighting.
The humans were skeptical. She was small and physically weak. How could she help? But Elena trusted her. "Show us," she said. Leora examined the data. She noticed subtle patterns the humans had missed. Deviations in energy readings, faint trails left by ships moving through empty space. She suggested a route that would lead them to the missing team without triggering any potential alarms. The mission was tense. Humans followed Leora's instructions, moving carefully through asteroid fields and radiation zones. Every decision she made minimized risk and kept the team safe. Hours later, they found the alien research team, trapped on a derelict station. Leora guided the humans in disabling the station's automatic defenses and rescuing the aliens without firing a single shot. When the team returned, humans and rescued aliens alike praised her. Leora's method had worked not through force, but through observation, patience, and thinking differently. Humans began to understand that strength was not only in arms or speed. It was in insight, courage, and compassion, the very qualities Leora embodied. Back at the colony, humans taught her things too. She learned to operate small spacecraft, to handle tools, and even to communicate more fluently. But more importantly, she learned the human way of measuring worth. She realized that what her people called weakness was sometimes the very thing that made her valuable here. One afternoon, while walking through the garden domes, Leora paused to observe humans at play. Children ran and laughed, and adults engaged in exercises, teaching each other skills. She saw how humans encouraged one another, lifted each other when someone fell, and celebrated successes that were small but meaningful. "This is different from my world," she said quietly to Elena, who walked beside her. "Back home, mistakes are punished. Here, mistakes help us learn. Here, even I can belong."
Elena smiled. Belonging is not about being perfect, Leora.
It's about being part of something bigger than yourself. You have already shown you belong. You've saved lives, taught us to see differently, and reminded us that strength comes in many forms. Leora felt something warm in her chest. She had always been told she was a failure. Her father, the alien emperor, had called her useless. But humans saw her differently. She was valued, trusted, and even admired. It was a new feeling, one she could not describe in her own language. She smiled and took Elena's hand. Just as the sun-like stars glimmered outside the colony dome, an alarm blared. The sensors detected multiple fast-moving ships heading toward the colony, the alien emperor's fleet. Humans rushed to their stations, weapons ready, shields activated. Panic spread for a moment, but Leora stepped forward. She studied the fleet's approach carefully.
"They are expecting a fight," she said. "But they will not get one the way they think. We can turn their patterns against them."
Chen looked at her incredulously. "Are you saying we can beat the Emperor's fleet?" "You're just a girl." Leora shook her head. "I am not just a girl. I am here with humans. Together, we can do more than they expect. Watch and follow my instructions." For hours, Leora guided the humans through defensive maneuvers, suggesting patterns, routes, and traps that exploited the enemy's predictability. She was precise, calm, and confident. The humans executed her plan flawlessly, and by the end of the engagement, several enemy ships had been disabled or forced to retreat without any human casualties. The crew erupted in celebration. Leora, exhausted but smiling, leaned against the console. Elena placed a hand on her shoulder. "You saved us again. Your ideas—"
"They work. You are part of this colony, Leora."
"Never doubt it." That night, the colony gathered to celebrate, not for the victory, but for the realization that humans and their allies could face any challenge together. Leora sat among them, laughing quietly, her presence no longer fragile or weak. but strong in a way the Emperor could never understand. The alien Emperor, watching from his distant throne, fumed. He had sent what he thought was a useless child, expecting embarrassment and failure. Instead, she had shown courage, wisdom, and the power of human collaboration. His messages returned reports of her success, and for the first time he could not dismiss them as trivial. Leora, small and seemingly fragile, had changed the perception of humans, not just for herself, but for anyone who underestimated the value of insight, patience, and trust. The galaxy was beginning to see that what humans lacked in raw physical power, they more than made up for in intelligence, ingenuity, and heart. And as she looked out at the stars that night, Leora felt the quiet thrill of something new. She had found her place among humans, and together, they were stronger than any empire could imagine. She was not weak, she was not a joke, and she was no longer a child sent to humiliate. She was a bridge, a teacher, and a symbol of what humans could see in each other, and in her. The galaxy beyond the colony remained vast, uncertain, and full of dangers. But Leora and the humans were ready, and they knew, without doubt, that no force in the universe could underestimate the power of a united mind, a brave heart, and the courage to trust each other against impossible odds. The calm that had settled over the human colony lasted only a few days. Sensors blinked red with urgency, signaling an incoming fleet, unlike any the humans had faced before. The alien Emperor had sent reinforcements, a full strike force meant to crush the colony and reclaim his failed daughter. Ships as large as mountains glided through space, armed with weapons humans had only seen in simulations. Panic rippled across the colony. Humans scrambled to their stations, shields activated, drones deployed. Commander Elena moved with steady determination. But even she felt the weight of the threat. She looked around at her team, then at Leora, who stood calmly among them, eyes focused and unafraid.
"They think we are weak," Leora said softly. "They think we will panic."
But humans are never predictable. We can use that. Chen frowned.
You really think a few humans in a small colony can handle this?
Yes, Leora said firmly. They underestimate what they do not understand.
And humans, we understand each other. For hours the humans prepared. Leora moved among them, giving instructions that seemed strange at first. "Do not form a line," she said.
Spread, then converge. Make them chase empty signals.
Use the asteroids. Force them to follow patterns they do not expect.
The crew exchanged nervous glances. It was unconventional, risky, but Leora's confidence was contagious. They followed her instructions, deploying drones in odd formations and reprogramming defensive grids to create unpredictable paths. As the Emperor's fleet approached, the first wave of alien ships attacked. Energy beams tore through the empty space around the colony, aiming to destroy everything in sight. But the humans, guided by Leora, did not respond as expected. They moved in erratic patterns, drawing the attackers into traps. Drones emitted false energy signatures, luring ships into asteroid fields. Shielded human vessels darted unpredictably, forcing the aliens to collide or retreat. The alien Emperor watched through a holographic feed, his fury growing. "She is doing what?" he shouted.
"That child is no threat. She cannot control them."
But Leora was not controlling them in the traditional sense. She was inspiring them, guiding them to trust each other and think creatively. Humans dodged, feinted, and turned what seemed like chaos into an advantage. The Emperor's ships, expecting predictable reactions, were trapped in their own formation. Several collided, others were forced to retreat, and the humans suffered barely a scratch. Elena, at the command station, glanced at Leora. "This is working better than any of our war plans." Leora's eyes shone. Because humans fight with their minds, not just their weapons. We work together. That is our strength.
As the battle raged, a larger ship, the Emperor's personal vessel, entered the fray. Massive, heavily armed, it aimed directly at the colony's core.
Its weapons glowed with deadly intent. Humans panicked for a moment, but Leore stepped forward.
Do not aim at them directly. They will expect that.
Use their weight against them. Force them into the trap.
Elena nodded and relayed the orders. The colony's fleet executed Leora's plan flawlessly.
The massive ship followed the bait drones into a narrow asteroid field. Energy beams struck rocks instead of ships, and the vessel's size made it slow and clumsy. Leora had calculated every move, predicting the enemy's patterns and exploiting their rigidity. Inside the enemy ship, the alien emperor glared at the feeds.
"Impossible!" he growled. "She cannot do this!"
But Leora had already anticipated his disbelief. Strength is not always physical, she said to herself quietly. Sometimes it is courage, observation, and heart. The Emperor tried to intervene, redirecting his forces. But Leora had already predicted this. Humans moved in coordinated shifts, adjusting their positions to counter every new attack. Drones disrupted communications, shields diverted beams, and the Emperor's fleet, powerful as it was, began to crumble under the pressure of human ingenuity. For hours the battle continued. The humans were tired, but they had trust. Trust in Leora. And in each other. Small victories accumulated into larger ones. Alien ships malfunctioned, weapons misfired, and morale faltered. The humans' unconventional tactics turned chaos into order, unpredictability into an advantage. Finally, the Emperor's personal vessel was immobilized. The colony's main ship, following Leora's instructions, sent a single energy pulse to disable its engines. The massive ship drifted, harmless, and the remaining alien forces began to retreat. The humans had won, not through brute force, but through strategy, creativity, and unity. The crew cheered, hugging each other and laughing with relief. Leora, exhausted but smiling, watched them with quiet pride. For the first time, she felt the power of human strength, not the physical kind, but the strength of mind, courage, and connection.
Elena approached her. You just led us to victory against the Emperor himself.
You were amazing.
Leora shook her head. We won together.
Humans and we trust each other. That is what made this possible.
Alone, I would be nothing. But with humans, we can do anything.
News of the victory spread quickly.
Humans on other colonies and stations hailed Leora as a hero. She had turned what her own species considered weakness into a symbol of hope and intelligence. The Emperor, meanwhile, seethed in his palace. His daughter had outshined him and his entire fleet, not with strength or violence, but with courage and wisdom. He sent messages demanding her return, threatening consequences. But Leore did not flinch. She had found a home among humans, a place where she was respected, trusted, and valued. She would not abandon it, not for fear, not for power, not for him. That night, as the colony recovered from the battle, Leora walked among the humans, observing them quietly. She saw exhausted workers repairing ships and engineers recalibrating systems, and children playing in the garden domes. She realized that this trust, this cooperation, this care, was what made humans extraordinary. She also realized something more. The Emperor's disdain, his arrogance, and his attempts to humiliate her had only strengthened her bond with humans. They had shown her acceptance where her own species had shown contempt. They had given her a chance to shine, and she had taken it, not to prove herself to them, but because she wanted to help. Elena approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder.
You did more than save us today, Leora. You reminded us why humans are strong.
Not because of weapons or ships, but because we fight together, we trust each other, and we see potential where others see weakness. Leora smiled softly.
Then we are strong. And together, nothing can stop us. The Emperor in his distant palace clenched his fists.
He had sent a girl he thought was useless, expecting humiliation and failure. Instead, she had shown him, and the galaxy, what humans were capable of. His empire had power, but humans had something he could not predict: ingenuity, courage, and heart. Leora, small and frail in appearance, had become the symbol of the truth his species could not understand. That strength came in many forms, and sometimes the smallest, most underestimated beings could change the course of history. The stars outside the colony glimmered quietly, witnesses to the unfolding of a story no one could have imagined. A fragile alien girl, sent as a joke, had become a hero. Humans had followed her, not because they had to, but because they trusted her. And in doing so, they had won a victory that would be remembered for generations. Leora looked up at the night sky. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, but also full of potential. She had learned that courage was not about the size of your body or the number of weapons at your disposal. It was about the heart, the mind, and the willingness to stand with those who trusted you. And as the colony rested, recovering from the battle, Leora knew that the Emperor had underestimated humanity and himself. One day, they might meet again. But for now, she would stay with the humans who had shown her what it meant to belong, to matter, and to shine. The galaxy had changed, subtly, but undeniably, and Leora, once a joke in the eyes of her father, had become a reminder to everyone that even the weakest could become extraordinary when guided by trust, compassion, and ingenuity. The calm after the battle did not last long. The alien emperor, humiliated by his daughter's success and the humans' ingenuity, arrived himself in a massive warship. His presence filled the colony's sensors, a shadow larger than any the humans had seen. His fleet, though smaller than before, accompanied him. Ships built to dominate, to crush anything that dared defy him. The colony's alarms blared, but Leora stood quietly at the observation deck, her large, dark eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. She did not flinch, did not step back. For the first time, the Emperor would face not only his daughter, but a human force united under her guidance.
Leora, Elena said. Approaching. They are powerful.
Their weapons are stronger than anything we have faced. Leora nodded.
I know, but strength is not only weapons. It is thinking, creativity, and courage. Humans are strong because we trust each other. Today, we will show him what that means.
The Emperor's ship fired the first volley. Energy beams lanced through space, targeting the colony's shields.
Humans responded as Leora instructed, not in straight lines or conventional tactics, but in patterns that confused the enemy. Drones darted, shields rotated unpredictably, and smaller human ships maneuvered in ways that no Imperial ship could anticipate.
The Emperor watched, enraged. "What is this?" he shouted. "This child, this human colony, they should be crushed."
Leora stood firm.
"You think size and power define victory," she said. "But humans do not fight like that.
We fight together, and we see opportunities where others see only obstacles." Elena glanced at her crew. "Follow her plan. Trust her. She knows what she's doing."
For hours, the battle raged. The Emperor's fleet was powerful, but humans were unpredictable.
Leora guided them with precision, exploiting the rigid tactics of the aliens. One by one, enemy ships were disabled or forced to retreat. Leora's strategies were unconventional: feints, misdirection, and traps that leveraged the colony's environment. At one point, the Emperor himself targeted Leora's position with a massive energy cannon, intending to destroy the girl he had sent as a joke. Humans panicked for a moment, But Leora remained calm. She studied the energy patterns, calculating the timing and trajectory.
"Move now!"
she shouted. Humans shifted their positions as she instructed, dodging the beam by mere seconds. The cannon struck a nearby asteroid, scattering debris that blocked the path of other attacking ships. The humans had survived again, not through firepower, but through trust, timing, and intelligence. The Emperor's rage grew. He could not understand how a small girl could outthink his fleet. He sent a squadron to attack her directly, but Leora anticipated their moves. Using a combination of drones and decoy signals, she forced the squadron into an asteroid trap, where they became immobilized. Humans cheered quietly as Leora's plan worked flawlessly.
"You are impossible!"
the Emperor bellowed.
How can one child control an entire colony? I do not control them, Leora said firmly. I guide them.
Humans choose to trust, and that makes us strong. Your arrogance blinds you to what strength truly is.
The battle reached its climax when the Emperor's flagship, enormous and heavily armed, prepared to fire on the colony's core.
Leora's mind raced. She could see the timing, the angles, the patterns of the cannon fire. She quickly devised a strategy.
"Deploy all drones," she commanded. "Activate every shield rotation.
Draw them into the center of the asteroid field. Use their momentum against them. Trust each other. We will end this together."
The humans acted swiftly. Drones scattered, creating false targets.
Shields rotated. Energy beams were reflected and redirected. The Emperor's flagship, overconfident and massive, followed what it thought was the vulnerable colony, only to be surrounded by debris and energy fields. Its massive size became a disadvantage. Leora's instructions guided every move. Humans dodged, weaved, and trapped the enemy vessel. Finally, with a coordinated strike, the flagship was disabled, engines offline, weapons neutralized. The Emperor's fleet, seeing their leader's ship incapacitated, began to retreat. The humans had won, not by brute force, but by ingenuity, trust, and the courage to act together. Leora stood among them, exhausted, but smiling. She had not only protected the colony, but had proven to the galaxy that human strength was not always obvious or conventional. "You've done it, Leora. You've defeated the Emperor himself." "No," Leora said softly. "We did it. Together. Humans and I. That is what strength truly is. Unity, trust, and courage."
The Emperor, trapped in his disabled flagship, glared at his daughter. He had underestimated her, thinking she was weak and useless.
He had sent her as a joke, expecting humiliation. Instead, she had become the savior of an entire human colony, guiding them with wisdom and insight.
You will regret this," he spat, his pride wounded.
"You are nothing without me." Leora stepped forward, calm and confident. "I am something you will never understand."
"I am part of humans. I belong here, and I have shown them, and you, that strength is not just in power.
It is in heart, mind, and trust." The humans gathered around her, cheering quietly but with pride. They had fought, they had trusted, and they had followed a small girl whom the universe had meant to be a joke. And together, they had won. In the aftermath, the colony repaired and recovered. Leora was celebrated, not as a fragile alien, not as a failed child, but as a hero and a symbol of human strength. She had shown that courage, creativity, and trust could overcome even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The Emperor retreated, humiliated, but alive. His daughter had proved him wrong. Leora had changed not only the perception of her own people, but of humanity across the stars. The galaxy had learned that size, strength, and intimidation were not the only measures of power. For the humans, Leora became more than a friend. She was a teacher, a comrade, and a symbol of what they could achieve when they trusted each other. She had turned her perceived weakness into a strength that no enemy could match. And as the colony looked to the stars, Leora stood among them, small in stature but enormous in courage and wisdom. She had arrived as a joke, sent to humiliate, but she would leave as a legend. The humans had learned from her, and she had learned from them. Together, they had proven that even the underestimated, the overlooked, and the dismissed could shine brighter than the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. The stars outside twinkled quietly, bearing witness to a truth the Emperor could not deny. Humanity's strength was not in weapons, ships, or raw power. It was in their unity, their courage, and their ability to see potential where others saw only weakness. Leora smiled, looking at the humans she now called family. They had faced the impossible, and they had triumphed. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but she knew one thing for certain. As long as humans stood together, nothing could defeat them. Not even an emperor, not even a fleet, not even the greatest power in the stars. And so, the girl who was once a joke became a symbol of hope, courage, and human ingenuity. The alien emperor had tried to humiliate her, but the universe had witnessed something far greater, the undeniable truth of human strength, the fuck-yay of humanity, and the extraordinary power of trust, heart, and mind working together. Alien emperor sent disabled alien daughter as a joke, but the human treated her like no one else.